Hi, and welcome to this week's podcast episode. Today, I want to give you 7 reasons why I think crypto is here to stay. This is no financial advice. First of all, Bitcoin has an amazing narrative and also a very strong brand. And even though Bitcoin is not crypto, it is often an entry point to the rabbit hole. With the 2008 financial crisis and Bitcoin as a possible solution, I think it's a very catchy story, and a lot of countries have been very damaged by the financial crisis. A lot of countries in Southern Europe, for example, Italy and Greece, and some Italians say that the financial crisis of 2008 is like the big crisis, and since this crisis, there has been no recovery. And there's also a mythos about Satoshi. I think a lot of people always like to have some sort of magic or mythos in some stories, and this is also definitely given. And lastly, there's also the claim that Bitcoin is a technical solution to the problem, which I think a lot of people, a lot of engineers think is very romantic. My second reason is the track record. So the Bitcoin white paper was published in October 2008. So there are now 14 years passed since the white paper has been published. And I think it is a very long period to be a bubble. Because if you look at other bubbles like the South Sea bubble or the tulip bubble in the Dutch tulip bubble, it was always, or it was most of the times not such a long period. And even though if you take, for example, the dot-com bubble, there were like tech companies remaining after the crash. And now these tech companies have been grown very big, and I think that there are definitely bubbles in the crypto atmosphere or in the crypto scene. For example, the 2017 ICO hype, or now the NFT bubble, which bursted in this year. But I think it is like a steady trend because there's consistent innovation. Like, for example, Ethereum moving from proof of work to proof of stake. My third reason is that there's an adoption of academic institutions. The MIT has the Crypto Economics Lab. Harvard has educational offerings about blockchain and Bitcoin. Also, Oxford has courses. There's the Frankfurt School Blockchain Center, the TOMB Blockchain offerings, the University of Nicosia and Mittweida. And I think institutions and universities just play a very huge part to establish cryptocurrencies. So my fourth argument is that institutional investors are moving into the space. There's the BlackRock Coinbase partnership. State Street co-develops a digital custody solution. There are major investments in crypto companies from Alphabet, BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, Samsung, Goldman Sachs, PayPal, Microsoft, and many more. Together, these are hundreds of millions of dollars. And I think, or I believe that these companies who are very financial, have a very successful track record. They do not make investments without expecting a return of investment. My fifth argument is that there are legal frameworks emerging around the globe. People are working on legal frameworks for cryptocurrencies, and countries like Switzerland and Dubai are making major efforts to become crypto hubs. And I think if politicians and also lawmakers are making these efforts, things are getting serious. My sixth argument is the growing ecosystem with major exchanges such as Coinbase, Binance, FTX, Crypto.com. It is easier than ever to buy, for example, Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, and also fintechs like in Germany, it's Trade Republic. It's like the sort of Robinhood. You can buy their cryptocurrencies. Then there are like the NFT marketplaces like OpenSea, Rarible, and Atomic Hub, also having thousands of transactions. There are conferences, books. Just go into a bookstore. There are so many books now about NFTs, about cryptocurrencies, and also, as I told you before, with the universities, there's a lot of people who want to know more about the topic. Furthermore, there are big brands launching NFTs such as Nike, Adidas, Ray-Ban, and many more. And also, as I told in my in my reflecting on the NFT hype episode, NFTs are getting accepted by the art world, with Sotheby's and Christie's auctioning NFT art, and also major artists publishing digital art and moving into the space. Everybody wanted like a piece of the cake. And I think this makes the crypto or the Web3 space, with every artist, with every major brand moving into the space, more and more serious, and also it helps to grow the space. Furthermore, there are tech companies which are offering infrastructure for Web3, for example, Cloudflare, Google, Salesforce, and many more. And Meta is probably one of the strongest players in the whole Web3 space, also with their NFT integrations for the social networks. They can reach directly the consumers with their social networks. And I think if they want to make major efforts for Web3, they can push it into the networks. Also, there are big stars advertising like Ronaldo, Kim Kardashian, and many more. And to summarize it, this point of the growing ecosystem, just imagine what makes $1 worth $1. In the history, it was backed by gold. This is not anymore the case. So the belief that you can buy something worth $1 or $1 is, for example, backed by the US government and the US economy, which are saying or which are taking care of the currency. But just think about money. Why is gold worth what it is worth? In the history, shells were used as money, for example. Or why are diamonds worth what they are worth? Take a look at the diamond industry. And now, in conclusion, what I want to say, if enough people believe that Bitcoin and Ethereum are something worth, they become more and more valuable. So I think this is very important for our currency. And also think about the current economic situation, about the cost of living crisis, about the growing inflation. And at this point, I want to quote some statistics from Scott Galloway's book, Adrift: America in 100 Charts, which represent the US, but also reflect, in my opinion, a lot of the Western world. So, for example, the first chart which I want to mention is that while the productivity increased in the last years, workers' compensation stagnated. So from 1973 until 2014, the net productivity increased by 73%, while the workers' compensation only increased by 9%. The second statistic says that the share of US multinational corporate profits booked in foreign tax havens is more than 50%. In 1966, this number was around 5%. This also has, of course, major societal implications. The CEO to worker compensation was factor 21 in 1965 and factor 351 in 2020. And now we have this high inflation, as I also mentioned before. In Germany, we have no real solution for our pension system, which is basically a snowball system. And it is not clear how we will handle all the healthcare bills of the baby boomers in the future. So do not get me wrong. This is not a love letter to crypto. But in a world where upwork mobility becomes harder and harder, where we are living in a cost of living crisis, and a world in which society seems to drift apart, people will seek alternatives to the established system. Because with less prosperity, there is less solidarity. This podcast should not be political. However, the reality is always interconnected, and you cannot segregate the economic completely from politics. So Scott Galloway proposes in his book some solutions. If you're interested, feel free to check it out. I'm always interested in your opinion. This is why we have also the Web3 Compass Discord channel. So I would be happy to hear your opinion. I personally thought a lot about these inequalities. I also thought a lot about myself. How could I enable a good life for myself? And I think it's not easy to find solutions. So have a nice day, and I'm always happy for your feedback.